Said Joe, what up YouTube? My name is Rap. This is I Rap on Point, and welcome back. But if you're new to the channel, how you doing? Thank you for being here. We are back at AZ's channel to check out one of his latest. I've been kind of slacking. Yo, AZ has been putting in work. He's been consistent with the drops. He dropped something I didn't check out 2 weeks ago, 11 days ago, 6 days ago, 2 days ago, and now 2 hours ago. Yo, AZ about to put me to work. So yeah, check this out, man. I'm gonna check out the video that he uploaded 2 weeks ago called All 29 Killers Ranked Least to Most Favored by the Entity. I've been curious about this one because last time I checked, I think the Entity liked Ghosty or some shit, right? Because Ghosty has the little floating things on his clothes or whatever, on his robe or whatever you call it. So I think he might be the most favored. I could be wrong, but we're about to check this out. And if you are new to the channel, please subscribe. I'm trying to reach 5K subscribers by tomorrow. Smash that like so we could get this video to 30 likes, and hit the notification bell so you don't miss an upload when I go live. And with that being said, enough talk. We know what time it is. If you dig it and you with it, let me know, because we about to get into this video. So let's go.
Hey everyone,
what
today
up?
We're ranking the killers from least to most favored by the Entity.
Let's
Basically,
go.
how the Entity views the killers and which it appears to favor or maybe not favor so much. We did a video on the killer's loyalty to the Entity a while ago, but I've had some requests to kind of flip it and assess it from the Entity's perspective. To judge this, we can look at things like the killer's teachable perks, their lore, their powers, and also how they've changed upon entering the realm. We have 5 tiers: unfavored and threatened, unfavored but not threatened, some favor, favored, and greatly favored.
Alright.
Quick note too, I do have a Discord now. You can join with the link below. Let's get started.
Let's learn.
Starting out, we have the unfavored and threatened tier. This is for the killers the Entity doesn't like, and also the ones it feels threatened by. I think it's pretty likely that the Entity doesn't have much love.
Hold up, I want to guess this one. I think that the Entity does not favor and is threatened by Mikey. I bet you it has to. Like, Mikey has to be it that's not favored and feels threatened. I think, but I could be wrong.
Love for the killers who kind of just do what they want and openly break the rules. I think this applies to Cenobite the most.
Okay.
Cenobite basically just turned up one day and was like, oh hey, cool, this place is my vibe, and he stayed, even inviting his Cenobite mates over. He appears to be the only killer too who can potentially just straight up teleport characters out of the realm. In his Mori, we can presume he takes the survivors to the labyrinth. The Lament configuration also appears to be an item that the Entity has very little influence over, so I reckon the Entity is just frustrated with the Cenobites basically. They just turned up and caused some havoc. We then have Shape, who in a similar fashion kind of arrived. It's not actually known how he got in, but he totally did, and it's presumably because he was chasing after Lori or something like that. Myers has some of the most game-breaking add-ons, which allow him to Mori survivors at various points, which generally result in Entity displeased. As purely and simply evil, I reckon the Entity feels a little threatened too. Executioner is an odd one. Despite him being very defiant in the trials, and the Entity likely fearing him, there was a clear connection made between it and the
Okay, hold up. I'm just happy that Mikey was on the list, but these actually make sense. Hellraiser makes sense. Mikey makes sense. This fool makes sense. Like, they make sense. These are pretty strong killers.
Entity, with the Entity's fog said to invite him into the realm. Maybe it's a case of the Entity misjudging Pyramid Head's power, and now kind of regretting the invite. I'm gonna put him here, due to just how much he messes with the trials. But there is a case, I think, for him actually being favored by the Entity too. I think that's it for this tier. Next, we have the unfavored but not threatened, for the characters who the Entity doesn't seem to favor, but equally isn't threatened by, making them slightly more favorable. First up, we have Trapper, a character who doesn't have the power to threaten the Entity. but still has totally tried to fight back, and appears to be the most active in doing so. There's suggestion that the Trapper isn't particularly favoured either, with him being one of the weaker killers in the game, and lacking any perks with entity intervention in them. Blight is another character who has been a bit of a nuisance, capturing other killers and injecting them with the serum. The Blight as a substance appears to infect the realm too, making it a potential danger to the entity. In Blight's current state though, he seems fairly non-threatening, with the entity making jabs at him with add-ons like the Iridescent Blight tag, which mentions it to be a cruel jest to tag the Blight, as he once did to others. Blight also escaped the Void, which I'm pretty sure he wasn't meant to be able to, so the entity is maybe a little mad about that. Unlike the other hexes, Blights also appear to be about creating order and reinforcing the rules of the trials themselves, suggesting the entity is still a little cautious of Blight. Doctor is actually a character that I think the entity is a little scared of, not threatened by though. Doctor has nothing to indicate he has favour with the entity, with his perks and add-ons mainly focusing on his research. The Doctor may like what he does, but he goes a little far, which likely makes him too much for the trials sometimes.
Yikes.
On to the killers who have some favour with the
Okay,
entity.
let's go.
Both Nemesis and Mastermind appear to be some of the most neutral characters
What?
when it comes to the entity's favour. They're invited into the realm, and the two of them solidly do as they're told, making them likely both pretty neutral to the entity.
That's wild.
With it holding some favour with them. Oni is in a similar vein to Doctor, being maybe a little too enthusiastic about his job. The entity also mocks Kazan by forcing him to wear the Oni mask and go by the Oni, a name he hated in his prior life. The entity seems to enjoy mocking the Oni to draw out his anger. The only suggestion of the entity's favour with the Oni is the perk Nemesis, which is obsession related, so I think he does still have some favour. Both the pig and twins have to hold some favour with the entity, what with them both being saved from death as a result of it taking them. It seems to want to make the three of them happy to some degree. It allows Amanda to play her unfair games, and it resurrects Victor for Charlotte. There's not much indication otherwise though, so I think clearly some favour, but otherwise fairly neutral. Clown is a character that seems to hold some favour.
No way, Clown? Some favour? I guess. I get Clown. Clown is an asshole though. This fool, he dangerous, man. Clown is crazy with it. Salutes to Twisted. I know he's a Clown main, but yo!
From the entity, although it seems to kind of dislike his sloppiness. There's some favour shown with perks like Bamboozle that allow him to call upon the entity to block a window vault, but otherwise Clown is a very weak killer, so I think the entity is pretty indifferent to him. Demogorgon likely has some favour with its perk Claustrophobia, which mentions Demo's ties to the entity. Potentially there had been some kind of agreement with the Mind Flayer, which has now been broken, and has resulted in Demo leaving, as like a law reason. So I'm gonna put Demo in some favour. I think Demo was higher before, but now that it's left, that favour has definitely reduced. Hillbilly and Cannibal are both quite similar characters, even at one point sharing add-ons. Both seem favoured by the entity. They both seem to serve it out of fear to some degree, but both have perks to suggest the entity's favour. I think the entity kind of likes the killers who do fear it to some capacity. Hillbilly can reduce pallet stuns, and he can also negate flashlights with Lightborn, which I think shows some definite favour. In a similar way, Bubba can straight up knock items out of survivors' hands, and for a long time had the only killer perk capable of increasing overall trial BP, showing clear favour. With this said, neither have perks that summon the entity, so I think we can maybe put them both in some favour. On the high end of it though. Moving on, we have the favoured tier. These are the characters the entity seems supportive of, and essentially sees them as good employees. Legion seems fairly favoured. The entity seems pretty chilled with them, and even lays down some fire beats on their mixtape. It also brought all four of them into the realm to keep them happy. I think
hold up. Mixtape, huh? I gotta read that. Hold up. dark beats, violent shreds, and unfathomable vocals from another world fill the mind with a vibrating sixth sense. While using feral, is it feral? No! Alright, I'm gonna stop you. Feral frenzy. The repair progress of the generators can be determined by the intensity of their auras. Okay.
A mixtape.
That's funny.
It also brought all 4 of them into the realm, to keep them happy. I think the Legion fear the entity, but I think maybe in part that's why the entity holds favor with them. Deathslinger seems to be favored by the entity, and maybe a reason behind that is Caleb's inventions, specifically crafted to cause pain but not kill, which is something that feeds the entity, with emotion or hope. He also has the perks Dead Man Switch, which calls upon the entity, and of course Hex Retribution, which is said to be a hex that seems to be crafted around Caleb's desire for revenge, which I think shows the entity's understanding of Caleb, and some definite favor. Trickster seems to hold a good amount of favor. His perks Hex Crowd Control and No Way Out both call upon the entity, suggesting some favor, and influence over the entity. Trickster's sadistic nature is probably also something the entity is supportive of. Trickster also seems pretty up for entering the realm in the first place, walking into the fog and preparing for his encore. Huntress can be considered favored with her rather unique perk, Territorial Imperative, with the basement being the heart of the entity, and this perk detecting those who enter it makes me think the entity favors Anna, alerting her to those who get the closest to it, suggesting a closer connection. Anna also has a hex that is said to be rooted in despair. All of the hexes appear to center or draw power from emotion, which is the same power that the entity uses. Hag is a character we have to assume is quite favored with her hexes. Hex perks like Devour are said to root themselves in hope, suggesting a tight bond to the entity's own power, which is emotion-based. The Hag is also very strong within trials, suggesting some definite favor with the entity. Nightmare also appears to be favored by the entity, and likely because the entity is content that it can actually control Freddy, unlike some of the other stronger characters like Myers or Executioner. The entity is said to have tempered his powers in some ways, but focused them in others, clearly showing it has control over Freddy's power, and has customized him for the trials. Freddy seems to otherwise be favored though, with his perk Blood Warden, the only perk capable of straight up cooling upon the entity to block the exit gates, which I would say shows some definite favor. Dredge is an interesting case, with it being a similar case to Myers with the whole embodiment of evil thing. The Dredge's power focuses primarily on lockers though, which are a creation of the entity. This ability to traverse between them, I would debate shows a close tie to the realm itself and the entity, particularly with Dredge even having a similar fog to that of the entity that surrounds it. It also has the perk Dissolution, which can call upon the entity to break pallets, which is honestly one of the most influential things a killer gets the entity to do within the realm. What with pallets being the survivor's only real tool to fight back, the entity seems to hold a good amount of favor for the spirit, with her having perks such as Spirit Fury, a Hex perk, and the obsession-related Rancor. Looking at the iridescent add-on Kintsugi Teacup, it suggests the entity sees Rin as better than before, in her new reconstructed state, after she was cut up. I think most of the characters the entity actively made a deal with, like Spirit and Hag, are characters it favors. Nurse, I'm going to say, is quite favored, purely for the position she has held within the realm, throughout the entirety of our time within it, being the strongest of the killers. I know that kind of hinges more on gameplay, but I do think that undoubtedly shows the entity's favor. She's also one of 2 killers that are capable of entering the spirit realm, a separate pocket of the entity's realm, which she enters briefly during her blinks, showing her clear ties to the entity, capable of phasing between its pockets. Onryo, although powerful, likely doesn't threaten the entity, making her probably—
There's a bunch of killers that are favored, man. But I haven't heard Ghosty. I'm telling you, that's the most favored killer. I got a hunch, man. I got a hunch that that's the thing, bro. That's a thing.
Favored. In her lore, she is saved by the entity from her well, and the two of them have this weird moment of agreement, where the entity's fog caresses the ocean as Sadako walks into it. Merciless Storm's cooling of the entity also suggests some favour. We can't forget the Scourge hooks either, which is said to be the result of a psychic connection formed with the entity, which I would say is a pretty close connection. Finally, we have the Greatly Favoured.
Let's go.
So the characters the entity clearly really likes. Wraith is a character who I think is greatly favoured by the entity. The entity follows him around in his lore for like 20 years before he takes him.
20?
Similar to Nurse, Wraith can enter the spirit world, showing his close ties to the realm, which are likely a result of Philip's great degree of emotion that he brings to the trials. He's also a bit higher here because he can also actually stay in the spirit world. It's not just a brief blink like with Nurse. Every time he's cloaked, he's actually in there, so I think that's a definite stronger connection. The Wraith's add-ons also show the entity's favour of him. The majority of them are all symbolic, and have their power unlocked through the entity's influence. Wraith's perks also seem to show influence. Shadowborn giving a greater FOV, Bloodhound making the blood an unnatural red, and Predator manipulating the scratch marks to be closer, the scratch marks being a product of the entity. Plague is definitely favoured by the entity, with her perks like Corrupt Intervention, the blocking of the gens resulting from Adiris's prayers, at least that's what it says in the flavor text. The perk Dark Devotion also reinforces this idea of Adiris's love and loyalty to the entity, or to Adiris, her god. The Plague's clear devotion to the entity means I think in turn it favours her greatly, and likely above the others. Favour can also be seen in things like her power, which stops the survivors from healing. Ghostface seems to be one of the entity's favourites, giving him cool little floaty parts to his outfit, and all of Ghosty's perks having entity-related parts.
Hold up, yo, my bad. I was listening and I slipped on that so I was right. Ghosty is part of the Greatly Favoured. I slept on it. I'm all like into the story.
Favour can also be seen in things like her power, which stops the survivors from healing. Ghostface seems to be one of the entity's favourites, giving him cool little floaty parts to his outfit.
That's what I said.
All of Ghosty's perks having entity-related parts. Thrilling Tremors can block gens. Imul Liz has suggestion of Ghosty's sharpened senses being a deeper connection to the realm, and Furtive Chase allows you to change obsessions, which I think shows the entity likes Ghosty a lot. It's almost like the entity giving Ghostface a choice of who the obsession should be. It's just kind of letting him do his own thing.
Exactly.
Artist is maybe the most favoured, and I think I'm going to place her first. It has more of a sinister angle for Artist, because of just how much the entity appears to interfere with her life. A big pointer to her favour is her crow-based powers, the crow being an image that is seen throughout the realm, and is likely even the eyepiece for the entity within the trials. She further has Pentimento, a perk capable of reconstructing totems, and Grim Embrace, a perk that calls upon the entity to block all generators mid-game, suggesting considerable favour. I doubt Kamina reciprocates the entity's favour of her, but I think it's fairly likely that she's the entity's favourite, which is proven in part, I think, by just how much the entity interferes with her life. Alright, well, that's gonna do it. There's a lot of valid and varying perspectives for how the entity views the killers, and these are just my own. So be sure to drop your own thoughts down below. Thanks, and goodbye.
Alright, y'all, I'm gonna end the video right here. Y'all gotta let me know if y'all agree with AZ. I do. I would not expect that Artist would be like the top favored one. He says it's because the entity interferes with their life or intervenes a lot. I guess it makes sense. I need to read the lores and stuff like that, obviously, because I don't do that, and I'm always not knowledgeable of all this stuff. But like I said, I knew that Ghosty was gonna be top favored. He's second place. He's under Artist, and I find that very interesting. Also, least favored, I knew, least favored and most threatened, I knew it was going to be Mikey, because Mikey is the damn devil. I always say this, I'm going to continue to say this, but I love him. I love Mikey. That fool gangster with it. But yo, let me know if y'all agree with AZ's list. If not, y'all let me know how it should go in the comments. Much love to AZ. This motherfucker's a legend. I appreciate all his content because he always puts me up on game. He schools me with the math and the science. And yo, if you are new to the channel, please subscribe. I'm trying to reach 5K subscribers by tomorrow. Smash that like and hit the notification bell so you don't miss an upload or when I go live. I appreciate your time. Thank you for tuning in. I hope you're having a great day. Keep the positive vibes up and the negative shit out. And with that, I'm out. So stay safe, stay blessed. Always rap on point. Wash your hands, wash your ass, peace, and unity. Till next time, adios.